It's over. The chapter that nearly broke you has finally ended, and you didn't even see it close. The thing that once kept you awake at night, the thing that drained your energy, your hope, your fire, it's gone. You just haven't realized it yet. And for months, maybe even years, you thought this would never end, that this was your story now. But today, the energy shifted quietly, completely. Right now, you're standing in the ashes of something that no longer has power over you. Every tear, every doubt, every moment you almost gave up, someone was watching. Not to judge you, but to see if you'd keep going. You were never alone in this. The silence you felt wasn't absence. It was observation, a higher presence, a guiding force, maybe even the universe itself. It saw every choice, every crack in your faith, every time you chose to rise again. And now it's stepping back, because the test is over. That's why the world feels strange today. The observers have departed. The challenge is over, but the stillness they've left isn't void. It's the whisper of approaching transformation, something that will revolutionize your entire perspective. There comes a moment in every chosen soul's path when turbulence stops seeking them out. Not because existence suddenly became gentler, but because you've evolved into something beyond the storm's grasp. This is that moment. You've endured experiences that most would find unfathomable, forces that attempted to exhaust you, individuals who reflected your deepest wounds, emotions that once seemed to consume your entire being. You battled unseen conflicts and shouldered burdens invisible to others. But here's the revelation. The very forces that once threatened to destroy you now dissolve in your presence because you transformed silently, thoroughly. You didn't flee the disorder. You transcended the frequency that manifested it. You no longer draw in what used to pursue you. Those peculiar cycles, those emotional spirals, those spiritual challenges that seemed perpetual, can't detect your new wavelength. You've ascended beyond their influence. This isn't avoidance. It's evolution. You've grown beyond the lessons that once taught through suffering. True protection isn't external barriers. It's internal transformation. So if today feels unusually serene, that's not emptiness. That's tranquility reclaiming its rightful place. Your surroundings might appear unchanged, but energetically you're inhabiting an entirely new dimension. Remember those nights when your anguish was beyond expression, when your heart felt leaden and your eyes stung from weeping over inexplicable pain. The deception, the absence, the bewilderment. It all seemed unending. But here's the unspoken truth. The day your tears finally cease. Not because you've grown desensitized, but because profound understanding has dawned. That pivotal instant when tears no longer materialize. It's the soul's silent declaration of completion. There's no grand finale, no watching crowd, no dramatic revelation. It unfolds in perfect stillness. One dawn breaks, and what once carved deep wounds now glances off your armor. Their memory no longer pierces. The past no longer seeps. You've reclaimed mastery over your emotional realm. This is that sacred day, the moment your soul ceases to react to pain that's no longer part of your narrative. You're not the vessel of tears anymore. You're the embodiment of triumph. The cosmos doesn't eliminate suffering. Instead, it transforms the version of you who required that experience. So abandon the quest for resolution. You've already traversed that threshold. The sorrow has expired. The wisdom has integrated. The wound has mended. Those particular tears will never fall again because that previous version of you has dissolved into transformation. When the tempest finally subsides, it doesn't herald its departure with radiant light or ceremonial sounds. It simply ceases, and initially that quietude feels foreign. For the chosen ones, serenity can be the most unfamiliar vibration because you've invested so much time in combat, restoration, and endurance that stillness appears almost threatening. You begin to question if this calm precedes another wave, another lesson, another descent. But consider this: what if it doesn't? What if this tranquility is the destination your healing journey was always meant to reach? Many chosen souls become entangled in their own restoration process. Pain becomes their evidence of evolution. Turbulence becomes their proof of growth. But when your inner landscape has been completely dismantled and reconstructed, nothing remains to repair. This realization can be daunting because peace offers no pursuit. It simply presents you with your authentic self. This marks healing's final phase, learning to exist without the constant need for repair. That's the uncomfortable silence following chaos, the void of drama, triggers, and survival instincts. Your mind may suggest it's deceptive, that something's amiss because it's forgotten how to function without discord. But this isn't deception. It's your reward. You're inhabiting the serenity you once desperately sought, and now you must recognize it as your sanctuary. The reality is that peace isn't monotonous. Peace is transformative. It's the frequency that transcends suffering. When the cycle of destruction ends, you begin creating quietly, effortlessly, without resistance. This day symbolizes that transition, from survival to sovereignty. You're no longer mending old wounds. You're architecting a life that prevents their formation. This is the aftermath of the storm. The silence you dreaded becomes the liberation you sought. Chosen ones rarely shoulder only their personal pain. Since your arrival, you've carried the weight of ancestral burdens, ancestral wounds left unhealed, lineages that buried their truth beneath layers of silence, generations that accepted pain as their birthright because alternative paths remained unknown. Your healing journey transcended personal transformation. You were purifying the very essence of your bloodline. Those restless hours in darkness, the moments when emotions overwhelmed, the ceaseless battles within your mind, they weren't solely yours. They were whispers echoing through genetic memory, through untold narratives, through deafening silence. Each time compassion replaced resentment, you altered a script that had been playing for generations. Each moment you embraced love over fear, you dismantled patterns once deemed unchangeable. You emerged as the final punctuation mark in your family's chronicle of suffering. This explains why your journey felt more arduous than most. It wasn't divine punishment. It was sacred purpose. Your soul was selected for its extraordinary capacity to shoulder what others couldn't bear. The inexplicable anxiety, the bone-deep exhaustion, the mysterious heaviness in your chest, none were coincidental. They were inherited burdens dissolving through your being. This moment marks liberation, a definitive conclusion, the point where you release responsibility for pain that preceded your existence. You've completed your mission. You've carried the burden. You've honored a spiritual covenant that countless souls never fulfill. Now that familiar weight behind your heart begins to dissipate. The atmosphere around you has shifted tangibly. It's no longer dense with ancestral grief. Their suffering has found resolution through your journey. Healing across generations doesn't merely transform your path. It reconstructs the very fabric of history. When lightness embraces you today, embrace it without doubt. It's not happenstance. It's the collective exhale of your entire lineage, finally finding peace. Every chosen bearer knows intimately the flavor of shadows. Not external darkness, but the kind that blooms within after repeated betrayal, abandonment, misunderstanding, and trials that pushed beyond mortal limits. The variety that teaches guardianship of the heart despite yearning for connection. The type that made you question your chosen status. But what remained hidden then was how each wound transformed into protective armor. Bitterness evolved into heightened perception. Betrayal metamorphosed into wisdom. Heartbreak crystallized into pure insight. Every instance of breaking served as silent reconstruction, molding you into an unbreakable force. Each scar became your signature, declaring, "I endured and remember." Initially, you sought to erase these marks, believing healing meant forgetting. But chosen ones don't erase. They transform. You alchemized poison into healing elixir. You mastered love without self-sacrifice. You learned departure without vengeance. This isn't weakness, but spiritual mastery. The kind requiring no validation because it's been refined through sacred fire. And now, behold your transformation. You've metamorphosed beyond recognition from your former self. The gleam in your eyes radiates intensity rather than gentleness now. The desperate pursuit of closure no longer drives you because you've become its living embodiment. Those who once dismissed your potential wouldn't recognize this evolved version of you, for they were destined to encounter only your previous incarnation, not this phoenix risen from destruction. Pain wasn't your punishment but your crucible, forging you into something formidable. You didn't merely endure the darkness. You claimed dominion over it, transforming it into an esoteric language only the truly awakened can comprehend. That's the source of the inexplicable energy others sense around you. It's not an aura of mystery, but the unmistakable presence of mastery. The tempest failed to destroy you, so instead, it crowned you. Now when chaos hurls itself in your direction, it simply rebounds, recognizing its own essence, its own strength. You stand as testament that illumination doesn't always descend from above. Sometimes it's forged in the depths by a soul who refused to remain shattered. If today feels disorienting, if you're experiencing a sense of floating between realities, neither fully present nor absent, remain calm. That peculiar emptiness, the mental haze, the sensation of your consciousness and spirit slightly misaligned. This isn't failure manifesting. It's confirmation. You're perched on the precipice of a monumental energetic transformation, and your physical form is still adjusting to the new dimension your soul has already entered. The fog doesn't signify loss of direction. It appears when you've crossed a threshold, when your essence advances ahead, patiently waiting for your remaining aspects to align. If you're experiencing this dreamlike state today, it's because you've transitioned into a timeline your body hasn't yet fully integrated. It's the universe's method of cushioning your transition, moderating your perception to prevent overwhelm from the brilliance awaiting you. While the former energy has released its hold, the new frequency hasn't completely anchored, leaving you suspended in the interim space. This space simultaneously feels like void and infinity. Consider it analogous to the atmosphere following a lightning strike. Charged, dense, silent. That's your current position. This represents the pause between death and rebirth, where your former identity has dissolved, but your emerging self hasn't fully crystallized. It's disorienting because your system hasn't yet learned to recognize peace. But understand clearly, this fog isn't punishment. It's the ultimate test, asking, will you surrender to panic without clarity, or trust in the knowing that something extraordinary manifests beyond your vision? Because this day symbolizes the unseen evidence that your transformation is complete. The fog only visits those who've emerged victorious from the flames. So if mental clarity eludes you today, don't resist. Accept it. Allow your energy to stabilize naturally. Clarity will return in its own time. And when it does, you'll discover that you weren't lost at all. You were recalibrating. Beyond this temporary mist of uncertainty, lucidity awaits like daybreak after the darkest night. You might dismiss October 16th as merely another square on your calendar, mundane, subdued, forgettable. But in truth, this date was eternally inscribed. Not by celestial bodies, not by cosmic alignments, not by grand universal events, but by sacred timing, divine orchestration, the kind that operates in whispers and reveals its masterpiece only after the transformation is complete. While some days arrive with fanfare, celestial portals, and cosmic convergences, others like this one move with subtle intention beneath chaos's radar. October 16th embodies this essence. It's the day that concludes chapters without proclamation, seals doorways without echoes, and delivers serenity without seeking approval. Examining the numerological significance, the number 16 carries a unique yet potent frequency. The one represents new beginnings, pioneering spirit, self-reliance, Leadership. The 6 embodies equilibrium, emotional restoration, harmonious flow. United, they birth something profound. 16 reduces to 7. The number of spiritual enlightenment, wisdom's completion. Endings that birth divine comprehension. It resonates with revelation rather than impulse. 16 dismantles illusions, creating space for truth's reconstruction. This perfectly captures today's essence. A silent deconstruction of falsehoods, of everything anchoring you to outdated timelines. The visible rupture isn't apparent because your internal explosion occurred weeks, perhaps months prior. Today marks the energy settling post-impact, the debris clearing. The moment when suspended particles finally descend and light penetrates anew. Most will navigate this day oblivious to its significance, but the chosen will sense it, that ethereal shift in the atmosphere. Like cosmic tumblers aligning perfectly. That peculiar tranquility, that inexplicable lightness of being, emerges because your soul path has energetically realigned. The universe has confirmed what your essence already determined complete. No planetary shifts were necessary. No retrograde conclusions required. You embodied both the alignment and the transformation. Today simply reflects your inner completion back to you. October 16th manifests as the energetic imprint of resolution, the date that solidifies what turbulence couldn't erase. It's a milestone in your soul's hidden timeline, the page destined for turning, whether consciously recognized or not. This explains your body's newfound lightness, your mind's unusual quiet, your emotions' strange equilibrium. It's not coincidence. It's completion. The kind that doesn't announce itself but resonates silently beneath your consciousness. October 16th didn't deliver closure. It authenticated it. While the world continues its rhythmic dance, unaware of this day's profound significance, you stand enlightened. You sense it viscerally. The atmosphere carries pristine energy. The universal slate has been wiped clean. A new chapter unfolds. October 16th transcends mere numerical designation. It manifests as a sacred threshold. And today, you cross this portal, unaware that every previous struggle was dissolving into perfect stillness. Pain was never your inherent identity. It appeared as a temporary companion. Intense and necessary, yet transient. However, somewhere along your journey, you began perceiving it as your reflection. You embraced it as protection, carried it as evidence of your existence, allowing it to mold your self-perception. But pain was never your essence. It served as the universe's language, demanding your attention. Now that you've decoded its message, it's time to release its voice. Each heartache, disappointment, and wound emerged as your teacher. Nothing was arbitrary. These experiences sculpted your being, instilled depth into your spirit, wove compassion into your character, and fortified your inner strength. Struggle, not comfort, taught you empathy. Delay, not immediate peace, cultivated your patience. Pain wasn't the destination. The transformation it catalyzed was. Pain doesn't determine your identity. It illuminates your potential. For the spiritually chosen, suffering often becomes a self-identifier. You question, without pain, is growth occurring? But this perception deceives. Truth reveals that evolution doesn't require bleeding. It can flourish peacefully. It can expand without destruction. The universe permits pain's presence only until wisdom takes root. Once achieved, suffering loses its purpose. Reflect on the numerous versions of yourself that dissolved to birth your current serenity. Each carried wisdom, bore scars, embraced surrender. You've fulfilled your spiritual contract. You've absorbed pain's teachings. This chapter concludes. Not because challenges cease, but because you've learned to separate tests from self-worth. Pain long resided in your space, shared your sustenance, convinced you it provided protection through past remembrance. Now clarity dawns. It lingered because you permitted entry. Today marks its release. Acknowledge its gifts and bid farewell without remorse. Pain no longer governs you. It serves your wisdom. The very wounds that once defined now empower you. They shield you from recurring patterns. They sharpen your intuitive abilities. They accelerate your recognition of truth. Previous sources of weakness now fuel your wisdom. This represents the universe's sacred exchange. Pain transformed into heightened perception. Thus, today you stand liberated. Not unmarked, but magnificently transformed. Not cold, but serene. You've transcended being the soul that clings to suffering, having finally grasped that pain was never meant to be your permanent companion. It manifested to reveal the profound strength of your spirit. Then it departed precisely when you were prepared to stop defining yourself through your struggles. Pain was never your dwelling place. It served as the pathway guiding you back to your authentic self. So when echoes of past hurts resurface, don't brace for incoming storms. Recognize them as mere memories, not your present reality. You've crossed into a realm where pain no longer holds dominion. The burden you once carried has fulfilled its purpose, and you're no longer obligated to give it your energy. There's an unusual quietude in today's atmosphere. Not hollow, but weighted. The kind of energy that suggests the universe is silently reorganizing its elements. And in truth, it is. Because beneath the visible surface, beyond physical perception, a profound shift is occurring that few can discern. Spiritual justice is finally manifesting. For countless seasons, you've shouldered the weight of others' actions. You harbored guilt that wasn't yours to carry. You endured confusion you didn't create. You absorbed pain that others projected onto you, simply because they refused to confront their own reflections. You questioned how individuals could mistreat a chosen soul, a pure heart, seemingly without facing consequences. But nothing escapes the universal balance, not even silence. Energy preserves all, patiently waiting for the perfect moment to restore equilibrium. That moment has arrived. Those who dismissed your pain, who found amusement in your breaking, who borrowed your light for warmth, but never shielded it, they've experienced a spiritual demotion. Their connection to your energy, your fortune, your divine protection has been severed. When you cease being their teacher, they become the student. This isn't retribution. This is realignment. The universe operates through precision, not punishment. Every departure from your life served an energetic rebalancing. But now, you're not the one clearing the path. Life itself is orchestrating the shift. Every energy that once depleted you must now account for what it took. Every harmful intention has reversed course, finding its way back to its origin. For extended periods, you've been settling karmic debts that weren't yours, absorbing impacts meant for others because your energy was pure enough to neutralize them. That chapter has concluded. You're released from spiritual obligations. The weight you carried has been redistributed. What once drained your essence now depletes theirs. Not through your intention, but through universal law. Some are now experiencing the collapse of the very illusions they weaponized against you. Their words spoken in darkness echo back with amplified intensity. The deceptions, manipulations, and falsehoods are now surfacing through circumstances that perfectly reflect their past actions. This isn't mere chance. It's cosmic accountability in motion. The equilibrium has finally shifted, and while they remain bewildered by life's sudden heaviness, you understand the deeper truth. That's precisely why you're experiencing a newfound lightness. The universe has officially removed your name from its testing roster and replaced it with theirs. They've entered the very classroom you recently graduated from. No amount of denial can reverse this energetic shift. You're no longer the subject of life's tests through others. Instead, they're being tested through the echoes of your presence. There's no need to witness the unfolding or invest your energy in caring. Justice operates independently of observers. It only requires truth, and truth instinctively knows its destination. Your sole responsibility now is maintaining your freedom, resisting the temptation to revisit old chapters out of compassion or inquisitiveness, because what's returning to them was never meant to touch your energy again. When divine equilibrium initiates, silence becomes the most profound evidence. Today marked a reversal. The roles, the energies, the karmic patterns, everything realigned to its proper order. If you're experiencing a sense of lightness, detachment, or unusual peace, it's your soul recognizing its liberation from others' karmic consequences. October 16th didn't merely conclude your cycle, it initiated theirs. There's always that vulnerable moment post-liberation when the mind gravitates toward its former prison. It's inherently human. We yearn for what we've endured, not for its benefit, but for its familiarity. Chaos, struggle, and pain become a twisted comfort zone when you've dwelled in them extensively. The stillness following healing can feel overwhelmingly vacant, too quiet, too unfamiliar. This is where many chosen souls stumble, mistaking tranquility for emptiness and attempting to recreate chaos just to feel something familiar. But resist this urge. Don't reach for that phone you promised to silence forever. Don't check on those who once depleted you just to confirm their stagnation. Don't revisit chapters you've outgrown simply because you miss your former role. Familiar suffering remains suffering. It doesn't transform into love merely because nostalgia softens its edges. That final closing door wasn't coincidental. It was divine protection manifesting as separation. You weren't cast aside. You were divinely redirected. The universe didn't eliminate certain people, patterns, or emotions as punishment. It removed them because your evolved energy no longer resonates with their frequency. You can't compress yourself back into a version that required constant survival mode. You've transcended the need for pain as validation. This represents the most critical phase of spiritual rebirth, the temptation to return to the familiar. When tranquility settles and pain subsides, the ego grows restless. It murmurs, "Perhaps your judgment was hasty. Maybe you departed prematurely. Perhaps reconciliation is needed." But remember, serenity doesn't require mending. It simply asks for acceptance. The turbulence no longer shapes your identity. You're not obligated to reconstruct disorder merely because stillness feels unfamiliar. That chapter wasn't meant for repeated endurance. It was designed for your ascension. You prevailed over what was intended to break you. Your hard-earned peace isn't negotiable, even when nostalgia beckons. Proving your healing doesn't require reopening old wounds. Testing your resilience doesn't mean returning to places of past defeat. That's not courage. It's regression. And you've journeyed too far to backtrack now. Whenever thoughts of returning surface, recall the arduous path that led you here. Remember countless nights spent yearning for resolution, the moments you doubted your survival, the heartache, uncertainty, and emotional depletion. These were the currencies that purchased your liberation. Don't surrender it for a momentary glimpse of what once threatened to destroy you. The serenity you're experiencing might lack drama, but it holds profound sanctity. If you're still watching, I extend my gratitude for your attention. Should this content resonate with you and you desire more, please consider subscribing. Your support means everything. Share your journey or insights in the comments below. Until we meet again, stay well and subscribe for more enlightening content.